Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Alian, and we're going to be looking at the drums of the Bruno Mars track, well, of the intro of the Bruno Mars track Finesse. And I kind of liked a lot of elements of this tune, so I was trying to recreate some of them. I already did a video on the bass and recreating the bass sound of this single. Well, and how to recreate it in any synthesizer if you want to check that out. Now let's look at the drum intro. It's going to be relatively basic what we're going to be looking at. We're going to look at swing and maybe a bit of processing, how you can get a sound like this. So let's jump right in. Let's maybe start with the snare. I just picked a snare which I found sounded not really similar to the original, but kind of had the same idea behind it, like a lot of high end and kind of a bit of like whoosh behind it. And what I then did, I shaped it a bit and simpler because I find it sometimes cool how you can shape the envelopes. And this snare looks extremely limited. So I was like, I wanted to give it a bit more snap. And I did this by basically just applying this fade out because it was also quite long, the tail, and I didn't need all of that. I added a bit more high end, and then I threw a bit of reverb on top just to give it, well, I mean, I was taking away some of the tail, but it didn't really have the space which I liked, and I was kind of comparing it to the original and to kind of give it like a space which I liked, and I just threw a little limiter on here for no reason basically, but yeah, that's what I have here at this point. And this was kind of a some processing for the whole drum bus. Don't look at this stuff too closely. I'm still working this kind of things out, but yeah, let's focus on the stuff I know for now. So that's the snare. Let's single it. So the rhythm is like this. And it's pretty straightforward. So I guess you can just copy this by ear. It's like bam, ba bam, bam, ba bam, bam. But what you need to give it like this little accent is adding some swing to the notes on the quarter notes, basically. Like this guy over here, you can see there's some space. So this is the grid, and these guys are not perfectly on the grid, which gives it like, which accents the downbeat in a way. So let's put these straight just to have a comparison. This is what it sounds like without swing. This is with swing. So it's instead of like bam, ba bam, bam, ba ba bam, it's like bam, ba bam, bam, ba bam, bam. So it gives it like this certain rhythm and energy. And many people always talk about swing and say, hey, you can add some swing to make things sound more natural and add a bit of like a somewhat of a mistake that a drummer would make when they play. And I'm like thinking it's definitely not a mistake if you swing something. Like people can, who play the drums well or who play any instrument well, can make decisions on where they add swing or not. So I've heard this many times and it's kind of irritating. But yeah, like for me, adding swing is more like a rhythmic element you can get to accent certain things. And sometimes you say that they accent the offbeat, or sometimes you say that they don't, but I think you know what I meant by this, or how this swing is working. So basically it's a little bit of a delay instead of having your drums exactly on the grid, and it's gonna give it this flavor. Maybe first one with swing and one without. Yeah, like makes it sound a bit faster sometimes. That was basically the snare. And then we have a similar principle for the kick, which I picked like a kind of acoustic kick sample because it sounded like an acoustic kick drum. The one in the original sounds super nice and very subby and cool, and I didn't even bother to try to recreate it perfectly because obviously it's good engineers have been working on there and also mixed it and mastered it and everything, but I just wanted to get like this rhythm that they had in there. So I basically took this kick drum sample from a little kick drum loop. Let's take a little closer look, which has like a lot of noise in there, which I liked. And it has this little tail, which I saw or which I heard in the original as well. And then there's this slightly similar but also different kick just before the other one. So I took the same kick, But what I did is I altered it slightly. I gave it a bit of like a fade in, which like takes away some attack, and then I did a fade out in order to take like to change the transient and make it short and snappy. So now they sound different, but also they're similar because they're still the very same sample. So this is basically how you can turn one drum into like a little variation and make your drum loops which you program sound more organic in a way, because you can turn one sample into many different ones instead of making it sound very generic and always stay the same over time. You can kind of adjust your samples a bit. So this was the snare, and we start by short kick, long kick, and once again we have the same amount of swing as we were using for the snare. So it's like boom, 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 boom. That's kind of the rhythm behind it. And then you just have to change the space in between them. So you start out with a snare and put the two kicks, then you have two snares, have another snare and then two kicks. So here it's like in between, like here you get the one kick on the offbeat and here you get the kick on the beat, or like on the grid here. So, and then you do the same thing again, basically. Just the second time, instead of having the space, you just copy this and have it in here again in the middle, and then you add this one again. So it's kind of a variation. If you look at this as one phrase, like this, the space between them basically stays the same. So you have these two kicks and then 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, then you get the two kicks, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, then you get the two kicks, and then you switch, then you start over. Just that, and since it's kind of an intro, you take out the last two kicks, and then they had some other like cymbals and stuff which I didn't recreate yet. But yeah, basically you have this pattern and then you duplicate it, which would give you this. And if you take out the last two ones, it's like the break before the track starts. Exactly. So yeah, that's it from my side. If you have any questions or anything else, let me know. If something wasn't completely clear, you can also always obviously give me feedback if you thought like, hey, this was boring, or this was good, or this was bad. Whatever you think, let me know in the comments. Feel free to subscribe and like. I'm also going to make a few more videos about the finesse track, because there was still like, I heard an M1 piano and organ. I really like the energy of the chords and this kind of stuff. So I'm going to be looking into that and hopefully share my findings in the next coming videos. So thanks for watching and have a good one. Peace.